Hey guys, this is Brandon with Motionform, and today we'll be looking at the first part in a two-part series on making doors in Revit. This part looks at making families that you can be pretty much putting in any project, and it just takes getting the fundamentals for making a door. So if you're ready to get started, then let's go. So let's start by looking at a new family in the Revit door type. So we see here our different templates for families, and we want to do a generic door, and it's just called door in this terminology, and we're just going to click open, and we're just going to close this. All right, so now we see what Revit defines as their generic door. You're seeing the wall, you're seeing an opening, and you're seeing a frame. If you go into 3D, we'll see these, and I'm going to change the scale so I don't see as much of these information here. So you see a basic opening. That's what this generic family will set you with. You have the right to create what will be a panel, what will be the openings in the panel, things like the swing, that sort of thing, you will determine. And so let's look at the exterior elevation. See, interior elevation, the things that it gives you are some basic type. For instance, the swing information is here, and the width and the height. These are all parametrically set. So let's go open some of our tabs so we can see what are the variables to this door family. And we're going to click on our family types here. Let's bring it up. All right, so let's see from the beginning. We see the parameters that are divided into construction, dimension, and then analytical, IFC, and other. These are all pretty standard. They're very useful. Of course, getting your height and width. Your rough height and width is definitely more construction bases. This will be useful. These are locked, which means it's locked in the model. So if we add a new information, for instance, a window light within the door, we can always put that height and width in here, or if you're locating it, how high it will be above the ground. And thickness also can be in that set of information. Analytical properties, I don't typically work with that, but you can create any of your own if you want, or add different identity data. But the ones that we'll be focusing on for this course is really looking at the construction and the dimensions. And we really don't really change too much construction, so it's really just about dimensions and properties. All right, so and properties, I mean by the type of panel. So we're going to close this, and we're just going to make a basic door to go in the model. And as you can see, there's no door currently. I will turn on the shading. No door here, no door there. So that's one thing we're going to create, and we're going to make a simple door with a opening at the top and at the bottom for glass at the top and a panel at the bottom. So we're going to start with that in our exterior elevation. So since this all of the set is already there, we don't need to be worried about redoing the frame. I'll leave that generic for now. We're just going to focus on the door. I'm going to start by creating an extrusion. My extrusion is going to be within that width and that height. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to chain these all. Now the only issue with just doing that is I definitely want to make sure, I'll click OK. I want to make sure that this chaining is to my actual controls. So I'm actually going to unchain them. And I'm going to just rechain them. We're chaining that one. We're locking this one. I'm going to lock the ground plane. I'm going to lock that height as well. And we're going to change our extrusion information afterwards. But while we're in this is our main panel. We're going to go ahead and set a material variable. We'll create that here in our family parameter. And we'll just click OK. We're not even going to really give it one. We're just going to say that's what it's set to. And we'll change the identity data to the panel. Then we'll click to finish. And we'll just raw, we'll look at what happens. So this door already is just a little bit all over the place. So, but it's fitting our height and width. For instance, if we change our width to be 4, we see our door has gotten wider. But we want it to be within the wall. Let's go back to the ref level and now locate our door within the wall. So I like to simplify because, first of all, this door should be a particular height. We do have a variable for the door width, but the idea is how do you locate it. So we're going to go and create reference planes, and the reference planes are going to end up equaling the width of the door. And we'll just start that off very simply. We're going to make a dimension string and immediately turn that label into the thickness. Now the thickness, I'm going to go ahead and just put as 2 inches. And now to center it on this door line, which is the center of the wall, just making these 2 dimension strings, and I'm going to put equal to constrain them. Now, what would have been most useful is if this was started afterwards, because we've actually moved the wall. We don't want the wall to be moved. So let's try this another way. Set that thickness. This we want to be pinned, so we don't want that to move. And we're going to just work with a little line to make sure, just a symbolic line to locate that. And turn on offline weights. Do that with TL as well. I'm going to locate these so now the door is centered. That's going to be my thickness. Now I'm going to go ahead and start here at that door reference line. And I'm going to click on both sides, click equal. Now I'm going to align the geometry of the door into that panel. So we have that, we're going to lock that. We're going to lock the other side. And now we're going to look at the door. And now we have our door centered in our wall. We want to have a glass panel at the top and a regular panel at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and start creating some variables to help me locate those. And those are going to be done in a similar way to how that was done. So I'll just roughly sketch out what that's going to look like. the symbolic lines. So essentially, I'm going to have a shape that does this, and then a shape that does this. And that's going to be in the door. So one of the ways to help me organize that is for sure to just start by saying I want to create some reference planes. And then I'll start locating those reference planes. So I know my reference planes will be on the side. These are for my panels. One's above the middle. And I believe actually my bottom panel is going to actually be from 3 feet, because that's where the door handle is going to go, and it's going to go in the in-between panel. So our panels will be pretty much here and here. And so I use my symbolic line to just give me a temporary line, 3 feet. So 3 feet is where my handle will likely be. And so I already know that this is going to be within that range, but I'll make sure that that is not really selecting that. So this is a temporary line. And I'm going to just start giving dimensions. And I'm going to make sure that I'm making my dimensions to reference lines, reference planes instead of geometry. Okay, and I'm going to start with the bottom one, and I'm going to just give it a dimension of 8. And I'm going to actually turn the panel trim, or the panel border. You could call it a rail or a style. I'm just going to call it a trim for my purposes right now. And this is my general trim width, and I'm going to turn that into just 3.5 inches. And I'm going to set these to be that same trim. And that. And since 3 feet is a pretty relevant dimension, I'm going to put that as a reference plane. I'll delete my temporary lines. And I'll make sure that's 3. I'll lock it. Okay. And I'm going to really just place I want these actually be centered on this line, so I'm actually going to start by basic. I'm going to just cause this to be 4 and this also to be 4 for this middle panel. Okay, so we have a control now. I'm going to set it back to 3 feet. And so now all that's left is, if you look at the 3D, we don't have our panels yet, so I'll just create that panel. Now we will create the glass panel, which will be in this top area. And we're going to simplify our life a little bit from the previous way, where we're going to actually set our work plane to be the center of the front and back. And that's at the center of the wall, you understand? And what we need to do is just go to our create extrusion, and we already see the work plane, that's current. It's very useful. We'll go into the exterior view and we'll just draw our plane here. And we're just going to very simply put it as 1-inch glass and make sure that that is half on each side. We'll make the material that glass, so you can add a new one if you don't have it. And you make it a subcategory of glass. And then you'll make sure you're aligning your geometry and your profile to the reference planes that we created. Now we press go. Okay, so we're just going to make sure if we're going to put 1/2 inch, one has to be negative, so negative to negative. Easy mistake. And so we're going to press go. Now we have our glass panel, but we also need to reset the height. And we see that it's not cut out of the door yet. So a hack would be to just change the shape of the door. But a more proper way would be to create a void in the door the size of the panel. Now we want to make sure that we see the panel in the door. We'll have to make a extrusion void. And so one of the things we don't want to do is to make it it'll hide the interior glass. So we just want to create a simple void just to start off. And I'm actually going to make from the center. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to come into the 3D view for this project. And I'll make sure that this is going to be a void. And I'm going to make sure that it cuts the door. As you see, it's only cutting the door, it's not cutting the glass. So now I'll go back into this void. It's cutting what I'm needing it to cut. Edit the extrusion. I'm going to select and lock it to these reference planes. Now as we go into the 3D, see a nice door with the panel. And because I made this a trim width as a variable, I can just make that to 5 inches and it's automatically changing for what I need. Okay, now we want to finish by making our bottom panel. We'll do that in the same exact way. Now we have our door that's having 2 panels, but we have a couple things to do before working on any of those other elements like a door handle. We want to for sure make sure it's presenting properly in our views. As we look to our exterior, interior views, we're seeing that it looks okay for now. Okay, now we want to finish by making our bottom panel. We'll do that in the same exact way. Now we have our door that's having 2 panels, but we have a couple things to do before working on any of those other elements like a door handle. We want to for sure make sure it's presenting properly in our views. As we look to our interior views, we're seeing that it looks okay for now. When we go to our plan view, I've taken up all my dimensions, I've hidden them. You see that 1/8 scale, it's sometimes thicker than the door, and probably we might want to have it having a swing. Because of that, we're going to go ahead and just edit and set these to not be visible when it's cut in sections. So we're going to go click on Visibility Graphics Override, and we will not be showing this in our plan. So these two are going to unclick essentially for all the elements in the door, because it will just get in the way of clear communication. And that's on all these elements that we just created. So we've hidden it in that respect. We go to a 3D view, it's still there. And now that we want to show our swing to go with the door, there's no reason to make a custom door swing if it's just really a basic door. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert, and I will really insert a door swing that I pretty much copied from another door, an existing door, and just loading that family. Door swing should be in most of the Revit families, and that door swing is something I can now place as a component. We can just click our component button. The last one will show there, and you just sort of plop it down at first. Then you will make sure to set it so that it's located in the center. You can lock that its side is located. See, this is the side for that door swing. You will lock that, and then you're actually going to go into the door. You edit type, and you'll make sure that the width for that little symbol is going to be set with that little gray box to the width of the door. I'm going to click OK. And so now we're going to go ahead and go back to our elevation, and we're going to change that door to be 4 feet. We'll look at our ref level, and you see that we do have that same width. So this is cool. We made a custom 3D door, but it is going to have a proper normalized swing. To finish our custom door, and before we put in our project, we definitely want to make sure we've added some door hardware. So we're going to just add door hardware to make this door complete. We're going to go to, we'll stay in our 3D view, but we're going to try to locate it as much as possible in here, and then we'll use our orthographic views to locate this door. We're going to insert, we're going to load the family, and this could be found in your Revit Imperial file. And in here we find our doors, a section called hardware, folder for hardware. And we can look here, we can see a couple different types of handles, and I'd rather use something that has on both sides like this. I'll click that, and it should be in the file, and I'll just go back to component, and it's looking for a place to go. You might be able to place that here and make sure that we're clicking that handle. And the handle is something I probably want to have definitely on the swing side versus the latch, or so it's going to be the latch side opposite where the hinge is, and we actually need it to be located in between the panel or in the middle. So what I'll do, I'll create another reference plane. As you can see that this handle is linked to a reference plane, and I will just make sure that it's actually we're going to just go from point, and we'll make sure that is cool. That's going to center this up, and we actually can now do visibility and graphics where we hide this. And we're going to go to our exterior view, so now we get to locate where this goes in elevation, and we definitely want this door handle. We're going to check for, go to align, we're going to check for it to be aligning at 3 feet. So we see if there's any cues in the, yeah, we have here where it's a little bit off, and because of this we're gonna pretty much offset it a little bit, create a little reference plane, and it's going to be a little more accurate to where we want this to go. And so we'll go ahead and just set a dimension on it. And then we'll align our door to that, door handle to that. So now if we change our door height or width, we always have a aligned set of handles. And so that's a very awesome way of making your door. And you have our hardware for the handle with those panels. Let's put this into our Revit model that we've created with our other doors. And that can be done by just clicking first save. Now we're going to load into the project. We have our file called door collection. And now our custom door, you just place at the end here. And now we just go to our 3D view, and we see our new door. And I called it door custom. It has everything that you need to put a door together. And so this is how you make a door in Revit. I will add a little simple element to it, so you can see that you can also add little flourishes in a similar way that we've done this. It's not that hard. And those are the basics of making a door in Revit for our first part in this 2-part series. And we've gone over pretty much the setting up your grids, understanding all the parameters. And the second video will be about working on making that in-place model. And so that's going to be something that you can follow. Check the links below. If you got a lot of this video, then go ahead and like it and subscribe to this channel for more great content for architects and designers.